Welcome to Careless Coder. Today I will create a proof of concept to prevent electronic eavesdropping. Motherfucker! So a couple of weeks ago I was reading a book about spycraft during the Cold War era. And something interesting popped up. It was a device that agents would wear on both sides of the argument that was able to saturate the recording microphones of the enemies. And I was like, huh. And there was one keyword, ultrasonic. And I was like, basically what they may be doing is just generating an ultrasound carrier wave, which would then need to be amplified so loud that it would actually saturate a microphone of the receiving party. And I figured, let's do a proof of concept. I want to see if this can work, but it sounds like it has some merit, especially with tiny microphones. That should be relatively easy. So I set up a proof of concept, because in this electronic age with spyware from Google, Alexa with Amazon, the Ring doorbell from Amazon that prevents you to use your house for a whole week because you allegedly called somebody a racial slur, which wasn't the case. Those things really deserve to be saturated when you want them to. So let me rummage in my sack and let me show you the components that I got for around 12 euros to do this. A high ultrasonic speaker, 2 euros. There we go again. I have a massive sack. A little amplifier that I had laying around for around 8 euros. That amplifies until 50 kilohertz. And, oh yeah, I got a big sack. And a tiny little signal generator kit that we're going to build. That is 3 euros. So with this, we should be able to actually reproduce it and see if we have something that is worth developing further. So let's jump in.
So I bought this kit for $2.95. It comes including a case. It's insane. So let's put it together. And it generates a relatively stable, although a bit noisy signal, up to 1 megahertz. It's kind of insane. And yeah, but you could also just use an app on your phone that generates a signal of around 19.5 kilohertz. But I figured this is kind of cool, and I always wanted a little tiny signal generator anyways. So I am putting one together for 3 euros including shipping. Banggood, I love you guys. So there it is, the tiny little frequency generator. I set the frequency between 3K and 65 kilohertz. And obviously I aligned my buttons so that they don't line up. Yeah, now they're all at the same position. Right, so we have amplitude, there's the volume, we have fine tuning and coarse tuning. Okay, so let's hook this signal up to the little amplifier. Let me solder up some DC jacks to easily power it. Got a lot of this laying around, so there we go. Let's connect the output to the input of the 50 kilohertz amplifier. That looks nice. So we can slowly turn things up and see if we get an output. Oh fuck, magic smoke. In 36 years of electronics, I never blew a cap before. And now I do it and you guys are watching. Shameful. It was the capacitor. Now let's put it in the right way. It's not like I could have missed it, but I don't know what happened there, because these are in the right position. But that one I just accidentally put in the wrong position. Never happened to me before. Crisis averted, let's make some bitches howl. certain point, there it shuts off. This became a very long surge. Every time it would jump into the protection mode. So I tried adjusting the voltage so I could turn up the amplifier, and then it doesn't shut off anymore, so that is good. So maybe it is the output voltage. So I reduced the amplitude on the generator here and see if we stick it in, if it then still breaks. So let's stick it in. Yeah, it's in, baby. And it still turns off immediately. It was clear that the input and the amplification was a bit too strong, so eventually just dropped the input voltage, and that worked. I downloaded a spectrum analyzer app and put it right on the edge of it, 19.5 kilohertz. So let's test this. So now we see that it is actually saturating. You don't see modulation of my voice anymore. So this should mean that this is no longer recorded. And now it should actually have recorded something, at least my voice. Yeah, it is actually working. So this is Ray from the editing bay, and something interesting drew my eye on the balance. Yes, sure, we hear some noise from this cheap amplifier that is cranked all the way up to get as much volume out of this little speaker, but the microphone is about 1.5 meters away, and look at the levels here. It is really all the way up. Wow. That is fascinating. So even the very advanced, relatively large microphone is thrown off a bit. It doesn't distort my recording, of course, because it's too far away, there's not enough power, but it does pick it up. You can see it in the signal. That was interesting. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, it seems to be working. And that with a 11 euro little transmitter, a 2 euro speaker, and a 3 euro signal generator. I'm kind of amazed that if we do this and we record and we talk, it will just record a whistling sound. It's kind of amazing, right? But would I trust my life to it as a secret agent? Not with this setup. I think we can actually make it better, and I may do that in the future with some ultrasonic transducers. They are actually built for that purpose, and they pack an oomph. Just a single 5-volt pulse, 110 decibels. That is deafening if you could actually hear it. But when you're in a pinch and you don't want to be eavesdropped, just do this. It works. So there you have it. We finally proved that it actually works. The hypothesis works. Although I needed a frequency analyzer to see where my microphone is the most sensitive. And this probably goes for all the same microphones. It's around 19.5 kilohertz, somewhere like that. That is very, where you saw the peak the highest, and that would saturate the rest. So that was a useful tool. And I'm not kidding myself. I wouldn't entrust my life in this solution, because these speakers are probably the main culprit. They're not the best. These are literally 3 euros. They go to 20 kilohertz, so you're already on that edge. But yeah, it did work. But I think we can improve upon this with these speakers, ultrasonic speakers. I actually ordered 10 of them, and I will revisit this project at some point, trying to saturate it from a bigger distance, around 2 meters. That is something that will be very useful. So yeah, I was fascinated, especially reading how this technology also made its way into the hands of Pablo Escobar.
which used it to foil FBI and CIA agents' recordings. I mean, it's kind of insane to think that somehow that technology made its way into the hands of the biggest drug dealer in the world, that then used it to foil the agency's recordings of plans with him. It's insane. It's so much fun. It's a really weird world that we live in. But yeah, I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you in the next one. I'm going to put this back in my sack so we can make a better version somewhere in the future.